Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. A very good evening to everyone. We'll be starting with our session shortly. We'll just wait a few more minutes while we wait for other people to also come in, and then we'll get started with today's session. In the meantime, we'd love to understand if you're coming in for these sessions for the very first time, or if you have attended these sessions earlier as well. Please let us know in the chat if this is your first session or if you have come for sessions like these earlier. And also let us know if you're comfortable with English as a medium of this session. This is mostly about spoken English, so majority of the session will be in English. We'll keep it very simple. But if someone does not understand English at all, please let us know in the chat as well. Okay, I can see for most people, this is their first session. Okay. And is everyone comfortable with English? Like they can understand English, right? Like this is obviously a spoken English session. So we'll be focusing on how you can improve your spoken English. But if you're not able to understand English at all, please let us know in chat. हम ये सेशन आज का मोस्टली इंग्लिश में करेंगे। अगर ऐसा कोई है यहाँ पे जिसको इंग्लिश बिल्कुल भी समझ नहीं आता है या फिर लाइक हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल है, आप हमें एक बार बताइए चैट पे।
हाँ सर।
ओके, दोनों में कंफर्टेबल है, ठीक है ठीक है। सो आई कैन सी मोस्ट पीपल हियर आर कंफर्टेबल इन इंग्लिश, सो वील कीप दैट, वील कीप इट वेरी सिंपल एंड दिस विल मोस्टली बी एन
थोड़ा
इंटरेक्टिव।
थोड़ा हिंदी
थोड़ा
में
थोड़ा
भी समझा देंगे क्या?
जरूर जरूर, हम थोड़ा थोड़ा चीजें आपको ट्रांसलेट कर देंगे। बट अगर आपको बिल्कुल भी समझ नहीं आता तो आप ये इसका वीडियो भी आपको मिलेगा, तो आप बाद में इसको विद कैप्शन देख सकते हैं। इस सेशन का वीडियोस आपको हम शेयर करेंगे हमारे वेबसाइट पे। एंड आई कैन सी मोस्ट पीपल हियर आर कमिंग इन फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम, सो लेट मी क्विकली टेल पीपल अबाउट व्हाट दिस सेशन इज एंड व्हाट वी यूजुअली डू हियर. So this is a part of Apna's community exclusive. We've been doing these sessions for the last almost 2 months now. And this particular session is about spoken English. In addition to this, we also host a large number of sessions almost every day. We are doing these sessions on weekdays from 7 p.m. and we are doing these sessions on the weekends from 3 to 4 p.m. So you can attend those sessions as well. In these sessions, we mostly cover topics like spoken English, interview preparation, how you can improve your resume, different technical topics, subject matter expertise, upskilling. A wide range of things are getting covered in these sessions. And today's session, especially the spoken English one, this happens every Friday from 7 p.m. We have been doing a 10-part series, and today is one of the last episodes that we are doing. We'll again start with a new series coming up soon so that you can continue speaking English and, improving your spoken English. But today is the 10th session of the series. If you want to check out the earlier sessions that has happened, people who have come in for the very first time, you can go to our website. Let me quickly share the link to the website as well. Here you will find the recordings of the previous sessions as well. So yeah, you can check those out and you can also register for the upcoming events. We quickly check if our host is here. Okay. Yeah, we're just waiting after a few minutes for the host to come in. Once she's here, we will get started with the session. In the meantime, अगर किसी को कुछ सवाल है, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask here.
हेलो सर।
Yeah, hello.
हाँ सर, मैं अकाउंट्स फील्ड में जॉब करता हूँ, टैली प्राइम में।
Okay.
मुझे अकाउंट्स में इंटरव्यू क्लियर करने के लिए इंग्लिश मुझे सीखना है।
राइट राइट, ओके। आपको इंग्लिश समझ आता है या फिर
हाँ,
लाइक
समझ आता है पर मैं बोल नहीं पाता हूँ।
बोल नहीं पाते हैं, ठीक है। तो देखिए आज का जो हमारा सेशन होगा ना, वो इस चीज़ पे कवर करेगा कि कैसे आप इंग्लिश को प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं, क्या क्या चीज़ें आप सेट कर सकते हैं। इससे पहले भी हमने काफ़ी सारे सेशंस किए थे। आप एक बार हमारे वेबसाइट पे जाएंगे तो आपको सारे सेशन के रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी मिलेंगे, तो आप वो सेशंस रेफर कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। एंड स्पेसिफिकली प्रैक्टिस करने के टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स जो हैं वो हम इस सेशन में कवर करेंगे, तो आप बने रहिए हमारे साथ एंड ये सारी चीज़ें हम इसमें डिस्कस करेंगे. So like I mentioned, today's session is about spoken English, and for that we have
हेलो
hello.
हेलो सर, मैं बोल सकता हूँ?
Yeah, sure sure.
सर मैं ये बोल रहा था कि आप है ना राइटिंग की भी बता देते कुछ तो।
रिटन इंग्लिश की, ठीक है, हम ट्राई करेंगे।
यस
आप
यस।
हम एक फीडबैक फॉर्म शेयर करेंगे, आप उसमें अपने चीज़ें ऐड कर सकते हैं, हम ट्राई करेंगे अगर ये चीज़ भी हम इंकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं तो।
ओके थैंक यू।
Hey, hi Trishna. So for these sessions, we have Trishna here with us. She's been hosting these spoken English sessions for the last 2 months, and today is, like I mentioned, the 10th episode of the 10-part series that we've been doing. Trishna is a spoken English coach and has been working with Apna for quite some time now, and a lot of people have been finding this very, very helpful. So I hope people who have come in here for the first time are able to take some value from this session as well. Trishna, over to you.
So Dipanjan, I was
Yeah.
thinking, is my voice audible?
It's a little low, but yeah, it's audible.
Is it very low?
No, no, it's audible, a bit audible. Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, I think it's the same, but yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so in the spirit of 10th episode, I thought we will do like a Q&A session today.
Yeah.
We do see a lot of people, like what happens in a lot of, okay, so my name is Trishna, Dipanjan has already introduced me. He usually does everything and then he's like, Trishna, introduce yourself again. And then I usually am like, I have a formal appearance, but at the background, I'm really scratching my head as to what to say. So the idea for Tripti coaching has been my mom's baby. It started in 1997. And then we kind of shut shop. She kind of shut shop when the pandemic happened, right? Because digital is not something that she is aware of. And then when I got to know the vision of Tripti coaching, which is really not so much as, I mean, she focused a lot on academics, right? So she focused on language as a subject that we needed to aspire. That was the need of the hour because that was, you know, the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. There was a lot of, you know, impetus on education. The impetus on the education still remains, but a lot of us actually realize that life skills are more important and spoken English has become a life skill. Right, Dipanjan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Why do you think it's a life skill? Like what's Apna, like there's a reason why Apna is collaborating, we are collaborating together. So Apna, there is a resonance in how we approach it. So according to you, why is spoken English a life skill today?
Yeah, I mean, mostly because the society is such that it considers English to be an important skill for communication, something that can be globally accepted throughout. And like, irrespective of who you're dealing with, it's a common language that everyone should be able to communicate properly with. And it's also associated in some ways with the level of confidence that you show. So if you're able to speak in English well, people essentially treat you with more importance because you're able to confidently put forward your ideas.
Yeah, so for me, when I quit my job when the pandemic started, I was going through this whole vacuum kind of a thing in my life, and I was like, what am I going to do next? And you know, my uncle was like, why don't you take up spoken English? And I was like I'm not sure because I'm not academically inclined, right? I don't teach, I don't prep students for IELTS, TOEFL, and things like that. But my focus, like 15 years, like almost 20 years in corporate career, English has been my main mode of communication. Even as a child, like my mom is from the south and my dad is from the north, and they used to speak to each other in English. I went to English medium schools. My aunt is very linguistically inclined, like she's written books and you know she's so articulate with that language and she had a profound influence in my upbringing. So that's how English became like it's part of me. I never realized that it's something that's different. Um, so for me, English is like native in a way. And when this came from my aunt, where she started to say that a lot of people go through confidence issues because they can't speak English well. And so the thing is, community, while I'm speaking, please use the chat box to share your thoughts, comments, ideas. If you want to agree, disagree with me, please write it in there. Sorry, Risha. Okay. I'm doing my best. I don't know what else to do.
No, I can hear you. If anyone is not able to hear something at all, try this. You can reconnect, and when you join, there's an option which Zoom tells you that, connect using device audio. Or I can see a lot of people who have joined the call, they don't have their audio devices connected. So try reconnecting and make sure to select the option connect using device, mobile, or computer audio when you do it. I think that will solve the problem. And yeah, if you can use earphones, I think that would help you understand things clearly. Yeah.
So what really happened is there were these conversations going on, and everybody keeps telling me my English is really good, and I was like, today, 4 years ago, I was scratching my head. I'm like, what do you mean my English is good? Because it's a primary mode of communication I use, and for me, it's not intimidating if people speak to me in another language, and then that's how our household has been. Like, my mom speaks to me in Kannada, I speak back to her in English. We are all good. Like, communication is really happening. Even with clients, I never faced issues like if I have, clients coming in, they speak Hindi and I'm like, मुझे थोड़ा थोड़ा आता है, and can I speak in English? And they're like, okay, मुझे समझ में आता है, लेकिन I can't talk in it. And then we're like, okay, let's, communicate. So communication has been effective that way. And then when I got to know, so life skills and learning and development has been very close to my heart. That's something that I've aspired to do. And right, so I've aspired to do. So then I said, okay, like that's when this whole thing started in 2000, around that time. And here we are, So Apna, when I started interacting on Apna Community, I found that this is a place where uh, the reason why I took up Tripti coaching and I, shared all this with mom, and she was like, go ahead. And, this became a hub of people who actually confuse communication with English skills, right? And we did an episode on that, right, Dipanjan? Like, we did this episode on the difference between communication skills as well as English speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found that confidence issues really come because people are not aware of how you can, like, there's this whole performance anxiety that comes in when it comes to English, and a country that is multilingual. I don't know why we feel ashamed of not knowing English. Like, you have a Portuguese person speaking proudly in Portuguese, and they're not apologetic about not knowing English. They're like, I don't know, I'm going to learn. And they come and talk in heavy accents, and it's perfectly okay. So that is something that I wanted to tackle through our classes, and therefore what we started focusing on is not just teaching our students what of it, but also the how of it. Like, how do you learn English? How do you think about the whole journey of learning? How do you approach your own learning process in a way that is empowering to you and doesn't, helps you fight your fears and things like that, right? So that's what we started to focus on. So apart from, so in our coaching classes, instead of just, we teach English, like spoken English and conversation business English and public speaking as well. But we also teach our students how to learn English with various methodologies they can use at their level. So beginners, for example, learn in a different way versus intermediate students versus, advanced students, right? So there are many episodes that we have done in bits and pieces. This is the 10th episode, and it's all available on YouTube on the exclusive, channel. Dipanjan, could you share the link, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah. So I'll try and do something about my voice. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So that's how this journey really started to empower people with how, and it's something that we really look forward to in people in terms of, being able to pick up these skills and navigate in your own English learning journey, which I found that people are not really aware of. Like, everybody focuses on the what of it. So what really happens with students is you reach a point in your learning. If it's under guidance, you grow, but if it's not under guidance, you kind of get stuck somewhere, and then it doesn't tend to improve from there. Like some people do, some people don't. Some people just develop mastery and they retain those issues in their spoken language, but they're able to make do and things like that. Right? Okay, so yeah, so today's session is really, we usually our sessions are very interactive and we usually end up running short of time in terms of talking to people and answering their questions about how to navigate their English learning journey. So today I thought we could actually do that, so maybe, and learning is a very personalized process. So I really thought about this, when I was thinking that like I couldn't think of one formula that I could give the entire community. Like it doesn't work that way. Like learning styles are different. The way we associate with a language is different. It's a very, very personal, deep experience that we go through in terms of acquisition of a new language. Like when we are babies and then later on when we acquire. So all those experiences we have with a new language are as important as the language itself. Right? So I was thinking that when it comes to goal setting and navigating your journey, maybe I could answer your questions because you would know where you are finding it difficult or where you need inputs, and then we could, pitch in from there. Does that make sense, Dipanjan? Can we go ahead with that?
Yeah, I think we can definitely do that. We can make this an interactive session. So you can definitely come up and share where you're facing issues in your personal journey in learning English and spoken English, and we can take those, address them individually. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will have these problems which are common. So when we are discussing with someone here, that should benefit others as well. In the meantime, you can definitely use the chat to engage and share your input, share your insights with us.
Dipanjan, while we come up with questions, I'm just going to try to switch my audio. Like a lot of people seem to be having issues.
Sure.
How's this?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Better? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's speak to this one.
Okay.
How's the community? Is this better? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So should we start with the questions?
Yeah, so the rules of the game
Yeah.
is that if you have questions that occur to you in your head, please type it out on chat, okay, immediately. Alternatively, you can raise your hand and Dipanjan will come to you.
Yeah.
How many people do we have in today, Dipanjan?
Around 50 people.
Around 50. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe if you're missing your raised hand, then
Yep.
please type in the question in the chat. That way we make sure that we don't miss you. We want to cover as much ground as possible. And to keep the boredom of the rails, we're going to end the session at 8:15 today, Dipanjan.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Otherwise, back and forth, it becomes a little monotonous when we're answering one question. We've seen that in our previous sessions.
Yep.
All right. Okay, lovely. So anybody who wants to introduce yourself, like tell us about yourself. Such a cliche question. I think like everybody's got like allergic reaction to that question. How many of you have allergic reaction to tell me about yourself? No one. Okay. This is a community.
Me, ma'am.
Oh, Sheetal.
Yeah.
What happens to you when somebody asks you, tell me about yourself? What allergic reaction do you have?
Like I feel I could not answer that question correct properly.
Okay, how would you answer it?
Okay. I'll introduce myself, ma'am.
No,
Good evening.
no, 1 second. So if I ask you, tell me about yourself, and you're super annoyed, right? That you don't want to answer that question, right? So if you don't want to answer that question, and if you're annoyed, how would you answer it? Not the ratified answer, the one that you would actually like to say, but then you kind of put it down and don't say it.
I get fear to talk with like in front of everyone. Like, that's why.
That in our session, just jump right in. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, we're listening. This is a
And-
silent This is the silence where the anxiety hits the most.
Like today, I feel I should talk like in front of everyone. Like I should get like fear of in front of everyone.
That's the best way to do it. Just jump right in and do whatever, then you realize it's not so bad. Go right ahead.
Good evening to all. Like myself, Sheetal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Karnataka, and I have done my MTech in 2018 in structural engineering.
Okay.
After that, I prepared for government exam. I took like some 4-5 years gap. Then, like I started my career in the IT industry,
Okay.
Now I'm searching for a job.
So what brought you to my session? Brought you to our session, that is ours, actually. Yeah, belongs to the community.
I can't hear you.
Now, I was asking you what brought you to our session today.
Like I have hesitation of talking in English.
Okay, what's
I
your
feel like I'll like messed up like while talking and all. Like what others will think of me
okay.
if I am not like I'm incorrect.
How many of you feel that way? Like when you start speaking, how many of you feel the way Sheetal feels? Like what will people think of you? Raise of hands. Prashant. So, okay, while Dipanjan, can you take the responsibility of counting the hands?
Yeah, sure.
And Sheetal, so what do you think people will think of you? Like you feel that they will look down upon you, or what happens?
They will laugh at me or they'll fun of me. Like, they'll make me fun of me. Like I don't know.
Yeah. That actually happened to me when I tried to speak Kannada and I stopped speaking for 20 years. I had like, when I was in fifth standard or something, my Kannada is different. My mom is from Dharwad and and then she stayed in all over North. So Kannada is like a Marathi mixed and stuff like that. And we came to Bangalore when I was 9 years old. And I would speak English. So they would, like all my classmates, I was put in a skit school for fifth and sixth standard, which is covered ground. And they said, you need to talk, you need to talk, you need to talk. And I was like, okay, I spoke one sentence and, we don't use the word ide, we use the word other, like it sounds different. And I said something and like 5 of my friends just went like, pointed a finger at me and then like, ha, 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 ha. And yeah, I studied Kannada as my second language till my bachelor's, but I would never speak. Like I started speaking maybe 15 years ago, saying that, okay, realizing that how much fear that had built in me, that, that ridicule, whatever, that I sound different and then it just, like I wouldn't fit in because I sound different. And then after that, I've done like public speaking in English, and then my company people would be like, "You sound like an alien in Kannada. Like, who's going to give you like a public speaking gig in Kannada?" And then they allocated that to one of my colleagues to do. Yeah, I get that. I don't feel lost, but then yeah, Kannada is a nice language to learn and know. It's
Yeah,
my
ma'am, in mother tongue, Kannada, Marathi, and all, like I can speak in like without thinking and all, I can speak, ma'am. Like in English, now I have to think and I have to speak.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like I'll talk different.
yeah. How can I help? What
Like
would you
how
like?
can I improve myself? I don't know, ma'am. Like I can see YouTube, I like I can I can hear anything, like I can understand also, but like while speaking, like I'm feeling like hesitate to talk. Like how
Okay.
to improve myself?
Did you do English in schooling, or did you
Yeah,
pick
ma'am. Second language,
second language? Your first language in school was what?
Kannada.
Yeah. And when did you pick up English as your main curriculum language?
Like PU and all, there will be like English only.
Okay.
After that,
Yeah,
okay.
so basically, understood. So basically, like, what happens with the language is that earlier experiences get laced with a particular language. So, like when you're smaller, when you learn a particular language and you are experiencing something. So, for example, if you get scolded, right, that's an experience you have. You're going to feel bad, horrible, and things like that. And the person who's scolding is scolding you in Kannada, right? Like your mom is scolding you in Kannada. So what happens is that entire experience of being scolded, feeling bad, whatever she's shouting it at, that word and that experience kind of gets linked. Okay. So next time when you feel that way, your brain pushes out the Kannada word rather than any other language. Like it's your first language that gets pushed out. And so what happens is that happens very organically or naturally when we're children, but that doesn't happen every time we learn the second and the third language. Okay. The idea is to recreate those experiences with the new language that you're trying to learn. Okay. So basically living experiences and emotions with your new language. Okay. So how to train your memory and how you codify memory is very important. So that when it comes to thinking in English, right? So basically, if you're looking at any experience and stuff, you need to say this stuff in English is this. This stuff in Kannada is this. Never go. This is Can you give me a word in Kannada, like anything? Yeah, any word in Kannada. Patre. Okay. Utensil, right? So wherever you think of a utensil, you see your memory, you have an image of a utensil in your head, right? Like suddenly there's an image that pops up. That's a first memory because as children, we don't really have a language. We have visual and audio memory. And we hear things, we see things, right? For people who are disabled, like if they can't see, their memory codification is different. Okay, the way they list things, it will be different. So anyhow, so when you remember utensils, then there'll be an image, and then so what we do is usually when you use a translation method, you'll go like, oh, this is patre in Kannada, and how do you say patre in English? Okay. Now that's nice when you're trying to learn like your first 500 words, like your brain can handle it. But when that becomes 10,000, like imagine the overload. Like in every situation, your brain is supposed to recall things in Kannada, like shifts through all the Kannada that you know and pick out the right words, and then recall English as a language, and then like that's a supreme language, like overload, like a brain can't handle that. Okay, so then you find that you hesitate, the word is not coming to your head. You can speak things that you know, but unknown situations become really difficult, right? Things like that. So one is codification of memory. So one question you need to answer is how is your memory codified? Like, are you doing this in patre and then you're doing utensils? Or are you saying this in English is utensil? So only one word is something you need to attach to the entire thing. So what happens is, now the interesting thing is that we are capable of thinking in multi-languages, which is interesting. How many of you know that you can think in multiple languages? Anybody can do it here? Dipanjan, how's it for you? Can you think in multiple languages?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, depends upon the scenario that you're in, right? And the imaginary conversations that you're having. So that way.
You can switch, like if you say, I need to speak in English, and you start thinking in English, and then you speak.
Yeah, I mean, it happens subconsciously. I never like focus on it.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what happens with practice. So you kind of tend to switch, which means your memory is codified in a correct way. Okay. But if you're going like, what is this in Hindi, and then you're translating it in English, then you need to rework on how you are learning a new language. Okay. So especially English. Right, Sheetal, that's one thing that you need to do. Second thing that would be good for you to do is start learning, clean out your pronunciation. Okay. A lot of people actually get stuck because they don't sound right. Do you feel that, Sheetal? Like, do you have that issue?
What, ma'am?
Do you feel less confident because you don't sound right?
Yes. Yes.
Like, you're not saying the word correctly, you feel somehow when in your head it's different, when it comes out, it comes out like that doesn't sound okay. Okay, so the good news there is that you're aware of the fact that you don't sound okay. There are a lot of people who speak and they don't even know that they're speaking wrong, right? So the fact that you know that you're speaking in an incorrect way itself is your progress in English. So the second thing that you need to really do is clean out your pronunciation. Okay, so English, the spoken language, the sound system is different from the written. And mostly in English, we are never taught that system. The sound system. So in Indian languages like Kannada, Hindi, the what we write, like the sound per is per. But what you write, what you say, and the sound is the same. There's no difference, correct? But in English, it's not like that. PH, for example, can be said as per. Like, okay. So there are same spellings that can be pronounced very differently, and there are very same sounds that are written differently. Okay. So learning spoken English by trying to make sounds of the letters the wrong. So if you see that if you listen and then you try to write how you hear, like the spelling, you will get it wrong. And if you try to pronounce based on what you see written by sounding out each one of the letters, you will end up being wrong. Yeah, Lydia, correct. That's called phonetics. So phonetics is basically like a sound system which is separate. Like the sound system is separate in English and separate, written language. Like graphical representation is different, and we all need to learn it separately, and then like connect. So if you're learning like a word utensils, okay, you need to learn the spelling separately, how it is written separately, how it sounds separately, and how to say it separately, and then bring them all together. Right? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Second thing, the third thing that you need to do to build your fluency is exposure. Like how much exposure are you getting to English?
Still like connecting to all, ma'am, like just talking to me.
Sorry, Chira, cannot hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Still connecting to all, like some half an hour, and like I'm spending some half an hour in English.
Do you enjoy entertainment at all in English? Do
Yeah, sometimes I watch like movies in English.
you enjoy it or do you watch it to learn English?
Like to learn English.
So that's the third thing. It's like try to enjoy content for its own sake. Like expose yourself to English in activities that you enjoy. Is there a hobby you have? Any hobbies?
Lot of watching serials and all.
Sorry.
Not in English. Watching serials in, but not in English, Hindi and
Hindi. Yeah.
movies and all. Like I'll see.
Right. So that's one thing to do is, try and catch something simple in English and build your way up. Third thing, so consumption is very important, and consumption not for learning sake, but consumption for, because you enjoy it. And you're not focusing on English really, like you're focusing on the stories and, what's happening in scenes and things like that. And you actually enjoy the whole process. So if you're a person who socially like talking to people, talk to friends in English instead of Hindi, watch serials and movies, try like, just once in, a week, pull out a movie that you would enjoy and then, watch it in English and see what happens. You understand English, so it should be okay. Like you might have a favorite genre, like you might like, like action movies, or you might like thriller movies, or you might like romantic films. Like you can pick which one you like and then watch that in English. You will connect to the story anyway. You'll be exposed to a different culture. Language, of course, you understand. Fourth thing to do is to practice speaking as much as possible. So one exercise that I tell my students to do is go to, like if you have people around that you can speak with and you have opportunities to speak, then do that. But otherwise, what you can do is get a YouTube channel. You get these videos that, read out stories. You can listen to it 2 times and then read it out loud 1 time. Even if you do like half an hour of that every day, that will help you improve your spoken English a lot. But yeah, I mean, depends on how much. I actually recommend an immersion route rather than like a grammar route. Like there is a way to learn English where you learn grammar and you construct sentences. That's a good way. That's a way to learn as well. That works great if you're a beginner and in the intermediate level one also it works great. But somewhere when you start going towards advanced, immersion is the best way to go. Like just jump in and see where that takes you. Right? You might also want to check where your English level is at. It might be at an intermediate level one or maybe at two, but then you need some input from intermediate level one as well. And if you do all these four things, on a consistent basis, you should start getting better. I hope that answers your short question in a long way.
Thank you.
Yeah, does it make sense to you, Chital?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can actually take this question next. This is from Rajdeep. He says, I can understand English well. When it comes to, yeah, he's unable to talk properly. Written communication is pretty good, but verbally it can improve. So what suggestions do you have for him?
Please. Like Rajdeep, can you come online? Can you talk to us?
Rajdeep, are you in the meeting? Yeah, I think you are. Okay, I'm not sure if he's in the call still. There's another question from Savita. When I speak in...
Let's quickly address Rajdeep's question then.
Sure.
So, yeah, so the thing is, if your written communication is really good and then you can understand everything, then it's just practice really. Like that's so this is like muscle memory. And, somebody, okay, let's take this example. Somebody who's done high jump for like 1 year, they will be able to do it much better because their body is acclimatized to doing that high jump because its body is already used to, okay, I'm going to run at this speed, I'm going to stop, I'm going to jump this much, I'm going to land here and things like that. Now, another person who just is physically fit, but trying to do the high jump for the first time, do you think they'll be able to do it? No, right? Because they don't have the practice, the body is not used to it. Being able to speak, just like writing, like you're writing, your fingers need to know the letters, and it takes years and years for us to, just write that word in a way that other people can read it and we can read it. Speaking is also a fine motor skill, okay, and it comes by speaking. So you may know the word, but your mouth, your nerves and your muscles in the mouth area need to be actually used to saying them. So the more used to you're saying, the more used to you're saying that word, the easier you're going to be able to say them. So basically, if it's somebody who's very fluent, it's just that they use those words very often. And yeah, I mean, they speak those words very often and very frequently, so they sound fluent to you. Nobody can just speak suddenly. Like there are examples and miracles and things like that where people learn fast, but practice is practice and it takes time. So I think that answers our question. So please practice speaking.
I think the next question is also on similar lines. It's from Savita. She says that, she can, whenever she speaks in English, that time her confidence drops, her confidence becomes less. So what should she do about that?
Savita, are you online?
Savita, if you're on the call, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hey Savita.
Hi.
Yeah, tell me what's your question? Like I'd rather hear from you than your text. Like there's so much more behind that one sentence.
Right. This एक्चुअली मैम मैं कभी भी इंग्लिश बोलने जाती हूँ, अभी अभी भी बोलने की कोशिश कर रही थी, तो अभी मेरा हार्ट बीट ज्यादा हो जाता है.
Okay, my Hindi is like your English, so you have to slow down for me.
Okay.
You
Actually,
see how I'm stuck with Hindi? Like you guys are here, but like if you all start talking to me in Hindi, I'm gonna be like you guys with English. Your English is better than
actually, anytime when I speak, that time I lots of which heartbeat become more that ऐसा.
Oh,
मैं कोशिश करती हूँ, बहुत डर जाती हूँ, कॉन्फिडेंस बहुत कम हो जाता है.
okay. What? Okay, so I'll speak to you in English. You can understand me, right?
वैसे वही कंडीशन अभी भी हो रही है, इसलिए मैं क्या.
Please, Savita, can you understand me when I'm speaking in English?
Yes.
आपको इंग्लिश समझ आ रहा है जब हम इंग्लिश में
हाँ
बात
हाँ
कर रहे हैं?
हाँ,
मुझे
इंग्लिश समझ
आपका
में आती
समझ
है,
आ
लेकिन
रहा है,
कभी
बट
बोलने की
मैं भी वही बोल रहा
Sachin, let's talk to Savita first, and then we'll speak to you.
हूँ। ओके, सॉरी मैम।
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Savita, 1 second. Are you there?
यस मैम।
Okay, Savita, just focus on what I'm saying and answer. Okay, are you able to understand what I'm speaking?
हाँ
You can. Okay, you can speak to me in Hindi. That's fine.
ओके मैम।
I understand Hindi very well. You can speak to me in Hindi, but slow down. You're like a supersonic jet plane. I find it a little difficult to follow. Yeah, tell
ओके।
me. Right, yeah, you can
अरे,
speak.
मैं जब भी बोलने की कोशिश करती हूँ ना, तो मेरा हार्ट बीट बढ़ जाता है, डर लगता है, हाथ पैर कांपने लगते हैं, क्योंकि इंग्लिश तो बोलने की कोशिश करती हूँ, मुझे लगता है मैं बोल लूंगी, अभी थोड़ा बहुत बोलूंगी, लेकिन उसी टाइम पे बीच में ही मेरा स्टॉप हो जाता है। कभी इंटरव्यू पे गई तो भी वही प्रॉब्लम होता है, इंग्लिश में पर्सनल इंट्रोडक्शन देने की कोशिश करती हूँ, लेकिन बीच में ही मेरा ड्रॉप हो जाता है।
Savita,
डर लगता है, ज्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आता है, कॉन्फिडेंस वही पे स्टॉप हो जाता है।
I understand. So when you feel fear like this, the idea is you can start with making a script, like make many scripts, okay? And you practice that script in real situations. Like for example, you can make a script and don't use English in very high stake situations. Like when you uh, high stake situation. Dipanjan, if you're not understanding, can you translate, please? It might have a difficult.
Yeah, sure.
So high stake situations, like job is a high stake situation, because if you don't get a job, that's not gonna feel great. Okay. So in your situation, because you're like beginning to you're maybe at a beginner stage or an intermediate level one stage, you will not be able to handle new situations in English. Okay. 100%. Okay. So the best thing to do is just accept that you cannot do it. That's easier on you. Like when you're pushing yourself to do something you cannot do, that's when you feel scared. Right? So if I don't have the capability to do a long jump, and then you're gonna put me on a cliff and say you have to jump like 10 feet, I know that I cannot do it, and that's gonna make me scared. That fear is very real. Okay. So what do I say? Like the best thing to do for my survival is say I'm not gonna do it. Right? I cannot. Done. I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to put myself at risk. Okay. So that gets you fear down like almost 80%. Like if you tell yourself like, look, I cannot do it. My English is just not good enough to be able to manage an interview. I cannot. Okay. Then what you can do in situations where the threat doesn't, fear comes when you feel that there is a threat, right? You feel like you're going to lose something. So here you're going, you want a job, and if you are not able to speak in English well, you will lose that opportunity. You're not going to get that job 100%. You know that. And that's why you feel scared. Like, what if I mess up? And if I mess up, they're not going to like me. Like, they don't know, they're going to think that I'm not suitable and they're going to let me go. And that fear itself makes you, not perform well. Right? So accept the fact that you cannot speak as well in an interview. That's like the first step. The second step you can do is try and find situations where it's not so scary. Like for example, if you're going to go to a restaurant and order food, like and then right, and then if you can't manage in English, you can manage in Hindi. Like you know that. You try to use your English dialect, get a script, practice it many times, do a role play, like get your brother or your sister or your friend or, whoever, family, somebody to sit with you and, practice your English like a script, like ask them to be a waiter and you order, do that like some 10, 15 times. And you'll find that you're a lot more comfortable saying it. And then you go to a real situation and try it. Go to a restaurant, order food in English, talk only in English throughout and things like that. Now you have a script, so it's more or less, it won't change much. There's nothing much to do. And then always give yourself that, that chance or that permission to basically use Hindi. Like say I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to speak in English. But if I get stuck, I get nervous, I get scared, I'm going to switch to Hindi and get my work done. Okay. So basically do these things where you're getting work done in English. You understand, Savita?
Yes, ma'am.
So you understand what I said?
मैं ट्रांसलेट करूँ या आपको वो चीज़ समझ आई?
हाँ जी सर, हाँ जी सर, कीजिए।
हाँ ठीक है।
Yeah, so do this in many real life situations where it's like a low stake, like it doesn't matter if you know English or not, right? You don't lose anything if you don't speak in English, but speak English. So what happens is you build successes. You could order food, using English. That's going to make you feel great. Like celebrate that, like I did it. You make an appointment with your friend in English. Say we're going to go to movies, discuss what movies you're going to go to in English. Your friend knows that your English is fine, they're not going to judge you. They're happy to, talk to them beforehand and say, I'm learning, please help me out. So you're not going to be so nervous when you're doing that. And then, plan your English, discuss the movie in English later on. Little things, like do them for like 3 to 6 months and then see how you feel about English. Don't get into like an English class. If you feel like going to English class, go. But if it makes you feel like a performance anxiety, again, I would suggest you don't. Like just find scripts. You can go to YouTube. There are lots of videos where they give you scripts for different things for beginners. You can just get that and you can make it your own, like put in your own words. If you know, if you don't know, just replicate it. Start somewhere. You do 2-3 times, it's going to feel much better. And then you can, go from there.
Yeah.
And I'd actually love to hear back from you in terms of how it went. But I mean, if you want to, please follow my community and get back to me on a DM or a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
तो सविता जी मैं एक बार क्विकली आपको एक ट्रांसलेटेड वर्जन भी बता देता हूँ। सो मेन चीज़
हाँ
आपका
जी।
ये है कि आप ऐसे चीज़ों में से स्टार्ट कीजिए जहाँ पे आपका रिस्क ज़्यादा नहीं है। लाइक इंटरव्यूज़ एंड ऑल में ऑब्वियसली अगर आप इंग्लिश में बोलने नहीं पाते हो और उसमें आप गलत करते हो तो चांस ये रहता है कि आपको शायद वो जॉब ना मिले। बट अगर आप कुछ सिंपल चीज़ों में इसको ट्राई करो जहाँ पे रिस्क नहीं है, अगर आप नहीं भी होता है तो भी एक बैकअप ऑप्शन है। जैसे कि आप कहीं बाहर जा रहे हो, खाना ऑर्डर कर रहे हो, तो वहाँ भी आप ट्राई करो कि आप इंग्लिश में ऑर्डर देने का प्लेस करो। अगर नहीं होता है तो आपको पता है कि आप हिंदी में भी कर सकते हो चीज़ें। आप अपनी दोस्तों से बात कर रहे हो, मूवीज़ के बारे में बात कर रहे हो, तो वो आप ट्राई करो इंग्लिश में बोलने का, या फिर प्लान बनाओ कि मूवी देखने जाना है। ये सारी चीज़ें आप इंग्लिश में बात करने की कोशिश करो, क्योंकि उसमें अगर आप नहीं भी कर पाओगे तो भी कुछ ज़्यादा आपका नुकसान नहीं होगा। तो आपका रिस्क कम होगा, डर लगने का सिचुएशन कम होगा। तो ऐसे छोटे छोटे चीज़ें जहाँ पे आपके लाइक कुछ नेगेटिव होने के चांसेस बहुत कम है, वैसे सिनेरियोज में आप ट्राई करो कि आप इंग्लिश में बात करो, प्रैक्टिस करो, एंड उससे आपका धीरे धीरे कॉन्फिडेंस इंप्रूव होगा। जब भी आप सक्सेसफुली कोई छोटी छोटी चीज़ें आप इंग्लिश में कन्वर्ट कर पा रहे हो तो उस चीज़ को आप सेलिब्रेट करो, आप खुश हो उस बारे में सोच के। एंड यही सारी चीज़ें आपको आगे जाके भी डिफिकल्ट चीज़ों में भी कॉन्फिडेंस बूस्ट करने में हेल्प करेगा।
Sure,
I
sure.
do this for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Avita? Hope it answers your question. Start there and then see how you feel after 3 to 6 months.
Okay, ma'am.
If you're still feeling scared, keep at it. If you feel that your fear factor has gone down, like you're not feeling that, palpitation and sweatiness and things like that, like you're scared, but you're not like freezing and freaking out and you're like calmer, then you can see what else. But till then, don't push yourself too hard in situations.
Okay, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. We can move on to the next question. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a particular question? You can unmute yourself. I think there was someone who wanted to say, Sachin, right? Sachin, are you still on the call with us?
Vidya has a good advice. Give oneself neat and stand in front of the mirror and say several sentences talking. Yeah.
Yes sir,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
Yeah. Please ask. आपका सवाल आप पूछ सकते हैं।
हाँ मैम, बस मुझे ये पूछना था, मुझे ये पूछ मुझे ये पूछना था कि मैं कैसे अपने एप्लीकेशंस में और नए नए तरीके, नई नई जॉब्स को सर्च कर सकता हूँ। कैसे इंग्लिश मेरी भी काफी वीक है, बोलने में भी और थोड़ा सा रिटर्न में भी। बट तो ये है कि कोशिश करता हूँ कि मैं इंग्लिश बोल पाऊँ, बट हाँ, सामने वाला अगर बोल रहा है तो मुझे समझ में आता है। जैसे अभी आपने जितना भी बोला, मुझे चीजें समझ में आई। हाँ, थोड़ा बहुत कई चीजें कुछ नहीं समझ में आया, बट बाकी चीजें आई। तो अभी मैं कैसे क्या करूँ कि मुझे दिक्कत ना हो।
So I'll speak. Chances are you have difficulty in understanding of one. Just one moment, Dipanshu.
या श्योर श्योर। बाकी भी अगर किसी के सवाल है तो आप चैट में पूछ सकते हैं, ताकि इसके बाद हम वो वाले सवाल भी हम आंसर कर सकें।
Yeah, so I doubt like understanding maybe like basic communication, but anything a little bit more complex, you will have difficulty. So, can you ask him if he's understanding what we're doing in this class so far?
या सचिन जी, आपको अभी तक हम लोगों ने जो चीज़ें डिस्कस की वो आपको समझ में आई? लाइक आप इंग्लिश में अगर कोई सामने से बात कर रहे हैं वो आपको समझ आता है, या फिर लाइक समझने भी आपको थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्टी भी हो रहा है?
नहीं नहीं सर, मुझे समझ में आ रहा है। मैम जितना भी समझा रही हैं मुझे वो
ओके
चीजें समझ में आ रही हैं। बट हाँ,
ओके।
कहीं कहीं पे थोड़ा सा मैम ने चीजें डिस्कस की जो कि मुझे अभी जैसे मैम किसी से बात कर रही थी तो वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा उनका जो भी क्वेश्चंस थे, जो भी वो उनके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू थे, मुझे समझ में आ रहा था मैम क्या समझाना चाह रही है या क्या कहना चाह रही है। ठीक है। बट ये रहता है, मेरे साथ ये है कि मुझे बोलने में बहुत ज्यादा दिक्कत होता है।
What
इसकी वजह से इंटरव्यूज में मुझे इशू क्रिएट होते हैं।
What do you do, Sachin?
सॉरी मैम।
What do you do? What's your work?
मैम मैं आईटी हार्डवेयर से करेंटली अपना के थ्रू ही आईटी हार्डवेयर से काम करता हूँ। ठीक है। बेसिकली मुझे उसमें इतना कोई नीड नहीं रहता है कि मुझे इंग्लिश बोलना पड़े। ठीक है।
And then do you have your own business or are you working for someone else?
मैम मैं जॉब प्लस बिजनेस दोनों ही है मेरा। मेरा एक खुद का छोटा सा आईटी फर्म है। बट उस पे मैं मेरी पर्सनल कॉल्स, जब मेरे पास फ्री टाइम रहता है तो मेरे पास पर्सनल कॉल रहती है तो मैं उसको करता हूँ। ठीक है। अदरवाइज मैं जॉब ही प्रेफर है।
What job do you do?
मैं अभी करेंटली तो मैं डेल के लिए काम कर रहा हूँ। डेल वारंटी लैपटॉप्स की सर्विस प्रोवाइडर हूँ मैं।
So why do you want to learn English? Where is it?
मैम अभी मैं कई जगह और इंटरव्यू के लिए मैंने कर रखा है। तो इसलिए कहते मैं चाहता हूँ कि मैं वहाँ पे फेल ना हो और अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस दे पाऊँ कि मैं अपने आप को अपग्रेड कर सकूँ। देन स्पोकिंग इंग्लिश एंड देन कहते हायर सैलरी।
Okay.
देखो
तो पढ़ाई कितनी की है पढ़ाई कब तक की है और किस लैंग्वेज में की है?
मैम मेरा यूपी बोर्ड से था और ग्रेजुएशन है मेरे पास। मेरा ग्रेजुएशन है प्लस आईटी डिप्लोमा है मेरे पास।
Okay. And this was in English or Hindi?
हिंदी में, हिंदी मीडियम से।
Everything was in Hindi medium. Okay.
या मैम।
Okay. So, Sachin, for you, okay, let me go backwards. Okay, so I'll tell you what goal you should have and what are the steps you should take to get there. Okay. So you need to learn if you want to be like progress professionally. Okay. The first step that you need to become proficient at or good at is business English. So one is English. You need to know intermediate level 2 mastery. Okay. So English has, CEFR, there's like an international body. They have divided stages in how we naturally acquire a new language. Okay. So there are levels. What this helps us is it helps teachers basically judge where the student is at and then give them the right input to improve their English. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're bad or good or there's a class. It just it just helps teaching process better. Did you understand what or should Dipanjan translate?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. I'm understanding.
You understand? Okay. So basically, yours would be at a beginner level. Okay. So
Okay.
comprehension, understanding in English is always higher than speaking. Okay. So if a person is at beginner, they can understand at an intermediate level. Intermediate level, you can
Okay.
understand advanced level English. It has to be like that. Okay. It may
Okay.
be that the understanding level is less than your speaking level. It's not then
Okay.
you're different saying, which means like when it comes to communication, then it will fail very fast. Okay. So since
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
level and you have not been educated in English, I would suggest you join an English class. Okay. And
Okay. Okay. Okay.
if you want to pick up English quickly, like first thing, get functional English in place because you're a working person. You
Mm-hmm.
start using English in your day-to-day life. Okay. For that,
Okay.
functional English. So you don't need to learn academic English where it is like you learn academic English. Basically, you should be able to write, you know, things in a.
So,
Please learn writing also. So please know that written English is different from spoken English. Okay.
okay. Okay.
Take a written English journey a little slow. Like don't put too much pressure on your written English. Okay. In written English,
Mm-hmm.
put pressure on getting things, getting grammar. In the
Mm-hmm.
spellings have to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
Your sentences has to be very precise. Your order, the way you write it. So it's a lot of work. Okay. And you must
Mm-hmm.
to a certain extent because at workplace you need to be able to write business emails and write proposals and things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you're in a specialized field, then your English needs to be that much better. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so you need to get there, but you to start with, take your written English very slow. Don't put yourself in pressure to learn written English first and then your spoken English. Start with spoken English first. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
spoken English is the challenge. So in written English, the thing is while it is very complex, one can take time to write. Like I can take one whole day to write a letter, no problem. Like I can sit
Mm-hmm.
no problem. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
not that spoken English. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
now I speak and then you have to reply back and then I have to hear you and understand and speak back. So there's that thing of time that you have to do things quickly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the good news is that we are inclined to spoken English, so picking up day-to-day English is really helpful for beginners.
और कुछ क्लाइंट्स से कभी कभी कोशिश करते हैं कि उनसे बात कर सके, बट जब कहीं पे बात करने में कुछ सेंटेंस ऐसे होते हैं, इज एम आर में कंफ्यूजन हो जाता है कि कहाँ मैं इज लगाऊं कहाँ मैं आर लगाऊं, या समथिंग बात करने में ऐसा लगता है, फील होता है, अंदर से फील होने लगता है कि कहीं मैं गलत तो नहीं बोल रहा, उसको बुरा ना लग जाए। ठीक है, तो इस वजह से हिचकिचाहट होने लगती है बात करने में। अदरवाइज कोशिश पूरी करते हैं कि उनसे इंग्लिश में कन्वर्सेशन कर सके।
I understand. Don't try to do that. There's no way. Like it's like asking a baby to, do ballet dancing. How is that possible? Like
हम्म,
can't even walk. Like it's literally falling, every time it's trying to stand and hold on to something and doing all kutur, and then you're telling the baby, no, you should do ballet dancing. Is that not possible?
या
No. Okay. So please
जी
them that you don't know English and you're going to make mistakes and it's okay to make mistakes. Okay.
हम्म, हम्म, हम्म,
And tell people also that I'm learning. If I make mistakes and I'm offending you, please tell me because I don't know. Okay. So give yourself that.
ओके
Because when you start
ओके
when you start speaking and you learn mistakes, that's how you will learn. Right? That's
हम्म,
not right. They try to take two steps and then patak, they'll fall. Like how many times you must have fallen as babies to, walk well. Even.
हम्म,
Okay, like right now, if you're making mistakes, that means you're trying, and that trying is important. The mistakes are not important. Yeah?
ओके ओके
Yeah.
ओके ओके थैंक यू।
Do that. Okay. One second. And then tell people straight on their face that मुझे नहीं आता है, मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. This is how it is. I'm going to talk broken, talk gibberish,
ओके ओके
right? Otherwise, if it's work
ओके
important and you feel that your English is going to come in the way of getting your work,
ओके
please just use Hindi. As simple as that.
ओके Okay.
Find somebody else as a if you feel that it's like very critical or important and your English is just not good enough in that situation, just find somebody to translate for you. As simple as that. Right? I do that with Dipanjan because my Hindi is not great. I do that 2 reasons with Dipanjan because I want Apna community to learn English, and that's why I deliberately speak English because then you guys can listen and understand, and also that my Hindi is actually weak, so I get away with it by putting
Not
Dipanjan.
issue, ma'am. Not issue, ma'am.
Yeah, Dipanjan is getting to know all my workshop tricks. Okay, so anyway, so that's the second thing. So keep a goal as business English. You need to start with beginner's English, but beginner's English start something where you can use it day to day to get your work done. Whatever you need, use it. So basically, start using it quickly. Like, don't wait that my English needs to be perfect and whatever that idea of perfection is, and then I'm going to be using it. So if you go the written route, that's what's going to happen. You're going to wait to get it perfect, and that's when you say, okay, once I can write it perfectly, then I'll start speaking. Okay, I'm telling you in English. I'm suggesting that you take an English class, and I do see some English classes go the academic way, which is fine. If you want to get academic English, that's fine. But since you're a working person and you want to progress in your work, you will need more functional. You need communication. You need enough language to communicate to get your work done. So that's already in Hindi. So you already have a benchmark. What you can do in Hindi, you should be able to do in English. That's it. That's your goal.
Okay.
Then you start with simple stuff that you can use, like you were telling Savita, yeah, day-to-day English, like getting an auto, ordering food, booking travel, whatever, packing. Go to ICICI Bank and inquire about, even if you don't have an account, go there one day and inquire about how to open an account, speak to the manager in English. Don't speak in Hindi. Stuff like that, right?
Yes.
You can call like a travel agent and talk about how you want to go to Singapore, and then speak in English, or you want to go to US, let us like an English speaking country, and inquire about visa, travel, plane. You don't have to book it. You can just call them and inquire. It's no harm.
Okay.
Go to a 5-star hotel and tell them you want to book a room, and talk to them in English and see, give them make up some requirements and say, I have this requirement for my company and things like that. We want so many people to come. Do you have any options? I'm looking around. You don't have to commit to booking. You can just practice your English and then say, they will get back to you and keep the phone and never call back. No harm done. Right? So these are real-time examples. So it will give you like, it's a little practice, sorry, but it actually gives you like a feedback as an experience as to how they're responding. And then if your company has a situation where you have to book something, then you can, use this practice as a real-time situation where you can go. Another way, catch hold of a friend and say, now you are like a waiter, I'm going to order food from you, and then really, have that dialogue with a friend. You can do that as well. Okay. So, in real, it's fantastic if you can do that. If you cannot do that, do role plays with people. So catch hold of somebody who can speak in English and then practice with them. Take an English class. Start with translate method to begin with. So basically, you start asking, if I know this in Hindi, how do I say this in English? Okay. But then how you codified memory is how we spoke earlier to Sita, so I'll not repeat that. Please codify your memory that way. Don't go like, while you're learning English through the translation method, don't think that stuff in English is this. Train your mind like that. Don't do that. But since you're a working person, it's just, simpler steps to say, I want to get this done. I can say this in Hindi. How do I say this in English? Work done.
Okay.
So you can start with that. Do go to an English class, learn English, but just make sure that, you're not pressured for written English, and then you're really focused on English. That's it. For you, nothing like it. But if you don't, you can still go but you can for some time, maybe 2-3 months, you can still go to that academically oriented. You will still get something out of it, and then later
हम्म,
on, something else. But then they will
ठीक,
like those kind of classes focus a lot on theory and
हम्म,
grammar and written English, which is also something you
हम्म,
need to pressurize yourself if you can't do it. It's fine for now.
ओके 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 थैंक यू सो मच मैम थैंक यू सो मच
Take about a year to get your English
हम्म
intermediate level 1. Okay,
हम्म
year and a half. Then maybe give yourself a year and a half to 2 years to get to intermediate level 2 in business English.
हम्म
So, like, no rush, okay? And don't do things
ओके
like sit with English for 1 week and then say, oh my God, I'm going to master it. Doesn't work. Like, spend an hour a day, 5 days a week. That's
तो
enough.
टाइम तो मुझे टाइम देना भी पड़ेगा और टाइम जब तक मैं टाइम दूंगा नहीं तब तक मुझे नहीं आएगा समझ में और इतनी जल्दी
I didn't
समय
understand.
तो लगता नहीं है चीजों को
So he said like he has to give time every day, otherwise it won't work out for him. Yeah.
To do. An hour, like at least make sure if you cannot do anything, at least 1 hour, 5 days a week to start with.
ओके ओके ओके
And
ओके
make sure that you don't feel pressured, okay? Like while learning English, you don't feel pressured to learn. Like learning is a good thing, but 1 hour, like when you are for that 1 hour, be with it completely, then switch off and say, okay, I'm done to start with. Like
ओके
don't
ओके ओके डन ओके
if
थैंक यू सो मच
you like sports or if you like wrestling matches and things like that, then watch it in English. It might be fun. Crazy.
सॉरी
I said if you like, there is this, I don't know why, like this is a weird suggestion, but like if you like things like wrestling matches, for example, like they have WWE, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can watch things, crazy stuff like that in English. It's like mindless, but they
मैम
talk.
मैं क्रिकेट मैच देखता हूँ और कोशिश करता हूँ कि मैं इंग्लिश कमेंट्री के प्रेफर करूँ जिससे कि मुझे समझ में आए कि क्या बोल रहा है क्या सेंटेंस यूज कर रहे हैं
Yeah, but then,
और मैं कोशिश करता हूँ कि मैं
yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. Don't watch something as complex as cricket, okay?
या
Something as dumb as wrestling match. Like there's no sense in it. You know what you're doing. One person is beating up the other person. There's nothing in it.
नॉट
And don't watch like for your level. Like, it's going to be like your brain will switch off. So you able to understand what is going on in the screen very easily. Like you should be able to see and understand what's going on, right? And when you're able to that way, then you start relating the language to what is happening. So what simple things like something that a 2-year-old can understand. What's content like that? It can have, for example, wrestling matches. There's nothing. One person is beating up the other. There's nothing more to it. So what happens there is that you start to grasp words that you start to build vocabulary and start words, and you start seeing how they use language, how they speak, and things like that. So is that you watch movies with a very simple plot. Like it's ideally, you open the movie, you know what's going to happen in the end. Like those. Then what happens is your attention will go to the language rather than the story because you already know the story. So your brain will start the language more than the storyline.
ठीक है मैम ओके
Lovely.
थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू और
Thank you so much for asking. Dipanya, nobody asked me questions and nothing to say. No session over.
Yeah, I mean, if we do want to continue, I think we already have reached the time, like you mentioned, 8:15 wala. So if we want to continue, we can, but otherwise, I think we can wrap it for today. We can probably pick up these questions sometime in the next session as well.
How many people are there?
There's just two more questions, I think.
Yeah, let's take them.
Yeah, yeah. So one is related to from Nitin. So he says that he's not. It's basically the concept where he's unable to think in English. Like there's not enough vocabulary in his mind, right? So whenever he does, he has to think in Hindi and then try to translate in English. So how does he work on thinking in English so that it helps his conversation?
Okay. Yeah, so first is like, is Nitin around?
नितिन, आई यू ऑन द कॉल? नितिन, आप अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं अगर आप कॉल पे हैं तो. Yeah, I think he's there, but
Talking to us?
yeah, he's not able to unmute.
Okay. So basically, I mean, what he's actually answered his own question. Nitin, you need to build vocabulary.
Yeah.
So basically, see stuff around in the world. And I think we've spoken extensively about this in our previous sessions where you look at stuff in your day-to-day lives, okay? And you start labeling that in a real time. Like when you wake up, you open your eyes, you look at, what's on top and say, hey, that's a fan, that's a ceiling, that's a window, that's a ground and things like that, right? Like have a running, you can, maybe take a day, an hour a day, and in that time you just have this running commentary in your head about words, about things. So it's like everything that you see, what is this in English? Okay. Once you get better at it, then you can start framing smaller sentences. Okay. So you can talk about what you're doing is usually a good idea. Okay. So basically, it's very difficult if you're used to translating from Hindi to English, then, to switch over just to start speaking in English is going to be difficult. Like, because we would prefer to do something successfully in a way that we are used to. So again, so once you're building this vocabulary and then doing this, then start giving yourself simple challenges that you will do in English. Ideally, do it in a classroom setting and things like that, where somebody can give you like an activity and then you can, write that. So you can do like grammar activities. For you, I would actually suggest go reverse. Like start a little bit more with written English, so that you're not, getting bogged down and you have time to think through things, right? I, in fact, actually, because I know thinking in English can be so difficult, we dedicated an entire, social channel to help people think in English. Okay, so what we do is we put a post. This is on Insta as well as Facebook. You can find it on my, what do you call? You can find a link on my profile in Apna. So if you join this Facebook, if you follow, you will get a post every day. And then it asks you a little bit of a question. If you can understand it, then that's a great way. So basically, it just talks about anything under the sun, and then it asks you to think about that topic and write about that topic, right? So if you want to do it, ideally do it in a social setting so that people can also respond to you and you can have an engagement. That's a great booster. And then when you keep writing like this, so the advantage of learning how to write is that it gives you time to organize your thinking and your thoughts. Right? Grammar and using language is basically critical thinking skills. So you need to be able to think clearly, think critically to be able to understand the situation, pick up the words that you need, frame them into proper sentences, and then put it out there. Okay. And so more than speaking itself, writing helps develop critical thinking skills. Thinking skills in English as well. So you could use our channel if you want. Then there are these writing exercises where you like do a journaling. You do journaling every day. You can, write descriptive. So there are two types of writing styles. One is descriptive, one is creative. Okay. From descriptive, you actually, it's to logic. Like, for example, if you want to write a business plan is basically just logic, and you just need to write factual stuff step by step. Then there is creative writing. Creative writing is just making up stuff. It may not be based in reality, it can be based on your experience, fantasy, things like that. And the language used there is very different. So I would recommend that you develop your writing skills, okay, and that will help you develop your critical thinking. And then, meanwhile, you start focusing on practicing speaking whatever it is that you know. So you can use it in real life situations. You can do uh, you can do sorry, there was some distraction with screen. Yeah, so you can do the reading that we talk about in YouTube, like YouTube video like a story, and then you hear it once for the story, you hear it second time for the language, third time you read it out loud. So that will help you increase your speaking skills. But I would suggest writing for you to improve your thinking skills basically. And then when you're writing, also try and get words in English. So number one is build your vocabulary. Learn grammar. And third thing is learn to write your thoughts out in English as much as possible. So that will develop your thinking skills. So when you're developing your thinking skills at one level, another level, you're just practicing saying words. At some point, this is going to just come together in your head, and then that will fall into place. I hope that answers your question. If there's no response, you can let us know in chat, or if you want to speak, then
Yeah, I think he's not in the call anymore. Okay, so we'll have this one last question from Lydia. She says that I know English as a medium of conversation and language, but I fantasy knowing British English versus American English. How can you help me, guide me for that? Lydia, if you're on the call, you can maybe explain what you're trying to say. You can unmute yourself.
Mm, Hello, I'm
Yeah.
Lydia here.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
yes, I can.
Just normal Hindi or English as an Indian, I can say. But whenever I see people talking in American or British English, I would fantasy to know how to learn that. I've heard many a times in YouTube and small videos and how do they speak. So how can I explore that thing? I just wanted to know. Do we need to through video to YouTube video we can go through it, or is there some kind of sessions
You're
or
saying,
class?
okay, got it. So basically, I would. So this is something that you need to approach when your English gets very advanced, right? So you reach advanced level 1 or advanced level 2, and language basically in different regions develops differently. Okay, and the usage, the accent is just a melody in the way that people speak, etc. So what I would suggest is, I mean, please feel there's like a lot of American and British content out there. You can always watch, but please don't mimic it. Okay, like that's not your language learning go-to. Okay, what you would need to do, like, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, what are you doing right now? What have you studied before? In which language? Where where are you facing
Uh,
challenges?
No, not facing challenges. That's why I told as fantasy. I am I'm a teacher by profession, mathematics teacher. I've done B.Ed, post graduation B.Ed from Mumbai University. But just a fantasy to understand their language. Just I've heard a girl who used to know many other languages, their accents, so like that. Just an added.
So basically, what you could do is, one is like when I'm listening to you to polish up your pronunciation. I see that you already know about phonetics. So basically, just pay attention to how things sound and then replicate that. Okay. When it comes to exploring language from different regions, language is very, very closely linked with their culture and people. Okay. So basically learning about, if you want to learn American English, like get to know about American culture, what do they do, where do they go, how do they live. Movie serials are like the ultimate way to find out. There are a lot of YouTube videos that you could actually go to. So basically learn about their way of life. Okay. And what is going to happen as a result of that is when we learn about other people's way of life, we have opinions and thoughts and processes about it. So that it actually pushes us to reconsider our value system as well. Like, do we believe what they believe? Am I how would I want to lead a way of life? Is there something that I can accept or not? Those kind of things. And then when you start doing that, the phrases that they use will start making more sense to you, right? Like, why do they use, like, for example, we may consider a phrase very rude, but in American English, that may be just really okay. Like, it's just a thing that you do on a daily basis, right? They would be very friendly professionally, but then, they would not want to engage with you on a personal level. It might be very difficult to make friends. It's not so easy as it is in India, for example, right? Learning these kind of things, you can get onto forums that are international and actually interact with people with, there are language exchanges that actually happen by native speakers, Americans as well as Britishers. You can find this on meetup.com. Let me just share that with you. Yeah. So basically expose yourself to culture, their way of life and things like that. And if you interact with Americans, in a live way, and that's something that will give you an opportunity to explore.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Like entertainment, you can try things like mimicking accents and doing stand-up comedy and things like that. You could explore that as well. That would be interesting. There are a lot of people who get on stage and mimic British. There's an actor I saw. I forget her name. I'm not following movies so much these days. There's an actor, lady. I don't call them actresses anymore. There's an actor who does like. I saw her doing British, Ireland, I think, American. I don't know her name. She actually changed the accents while she was talking, and it was really interesting to watch. Yeah, I have the same fascination with accents. That's why my English speaking so much. Yeah, all right. I hope that answers. Feel free to explore, Lydia. Like, I'm not the go-to person to answer how you should explore your language. Actually, when you get to advanced levels, you take charge of where you want to dive in and how that feels to you. How would you want to do it, actually? Why don't you tell us as a community?
I'm just saying it, no? So, like I saw one day in Kapil Sharma show that Shraddha Kapoor was doing it, and one girl from somewhere, Rajasthan or somewhere, small girl, she knows various different dialects and languages and different English only, but different ways. So I thought, I also know English, but why don't I try knowing their English of American as well as this British. So just an add-in to know. Anyway, I'll just try whatever the link you have given, no, meet.com. I'll just go through it.
Literature. I think that would be good. Like, go read literature, like read novels, read books, watch serials. Of coming, like, there are British serials and there are American serials. There are books by authors. I think books are a go-to thing for if you want to get exposure to language and like the fascination that you're finding. Books are also good. So combination of these things will maybe kind of give you the exposure that you so desire.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
First feedback. I'm also on the same journey. I always keep looking at different accents. In fact, because of English, I've become a lot more fascinated to all the other languages in the world. Like, it's very fascinating. Yeah. Once I started teaching English, actually, funnily enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers all the questions. So we can move towards the conclusion part. If you have anything else that you want to add, Trishna, otherwise I can move towards wrapping up the session.
I think this was a phase one for us.
Yeah.
I think, how was it for you, Dipanjan, actually, the phase one?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. We did have a lot of learnings that came along the way. I think there are a lot of people in the Apna community who require this assistance, especially with spoken English, and more so focused towards, English that's primarily needed for interviews. And people who came in for like repeat sessions and attended multiple sessions, they definitely found value. So yeah, it was a really positive and interesting experiment for us. I think this was very, very helpful for us.
This was very helpful for me also. It's been very
Yeah.
interesting because I signed on to Apna and then I was like, here's a community of people who could really, like, it synced with the goals that I've set for 50 coaching. And I was like, I never expected a call from Dipanjan. He called me one day out of the blue and he's like, can you do like the workshop? And like, me really. And then, like I've experience in L&D, so that was like, okay, but that was really, really interesting. I think there's been a lot of learnings for me as a facilitator in the last 10 sessions. I think my way of delivery has changed.
Yeah.
From the first session to how I do it now. And, we usually have 50, 60 people and then we have 10 people staying back at the end. Like that's a regular thing.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
that usually happens?
yeah. That's common across all sessions. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I was thinking, okay. All right. Anyway.
yeah.
So yeah, what we're gonna have like a second phase coming up, and we're gonna have like what I'm looking at doing also in the second phase is also having a lot of offline interactions with the community who wants support with their English learning journey. Okay. So Dipanjan, I didn't share it with you, but I set up the page.
Oh,
And,
wonderful.
let me share that. So the page actually has consult if anybody wants to do like one-on-one consult with me. So what we did today is like a short form of that online. So basically, if anybody wants to come on and talk about where they're in their English journey, how to navigate that, because I see very few people doing it.
Yeah.
Actually, you have people actually. I mean, I think the community, you guys can validate that more than us. But this is my understanding is when you go to an English class, they just tell you to join and then you join and then you go through whatever you go through, right? Rather than you really taking, like understanding where you are, the fact that there is an English learning journey and the fact that you fall somewhere within that and how do you navigate your goals and how do you actually get there? What support you can take from, a professional who's teaching and what you need to do yourself, like just getting this mentality. So basically, whatever we did in this session is how do you say, a prelude or a, what do you call that, trial? Yeah, right? This is like
Prelogue, no, prologue.
not prelude. No, not prologue. This is like a trial. You get that MVP, minimum minimum viable product. So
Yeah.
yeah. So this is like a trial for you in terms of what you can get is that half an hour of value with me to understand how to navigate an English learning journey, like what goals you should set. Just because you see a native speaker speaking like really beautifully, if that's a goal you're going to set for yourself, you might have anxiety, and that's not going to work for you. So, like setting realistic goals and taking steps. What should you go to? Like answering questions like, should I take a class or not? If I'm taking a class, what kind of a class should I take? How will that class help me? Like making all these decisions is what this half an hour will help. Uh, for more advanced speakers, I have like 2 years ago, I put together a public speaking course, which is sitting in Udemy, which wasn't used anywhere. And I think Apna Community can use that because we
Yeah.
have a lot of managerial level folks here as well,
Yeah.
who have these leadership positions, team lead positions, managerial positions, who also need to brush up their language because now they're getting exposed nationally and internationally as well, and then there is this body need. So I have like public speaking course in there. It's just theory, but it gives you a process that you can go through. Like how we do all our classes is to give people a process and what you can go and implement in real life, right? And you are not going to find, if you want to come to our sessions for gyan, like for knowledge, that's not going to happen. Okay? I think, Dipanjan, you've been privy to that. We give more knowledge in our classes.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean these have always been interactive sessions and an opportunity for people to come forward and feel more confident about the way they speak, especially in a public forum. So that's what makes it different from any other webinars that you might attend. So yeah, I think that has worked for us and people have found value there. So we'll definitely try to keep some elements of that active in the next phase as well.
Yeah, so third thing that we have on that link that will become active sometime next week, the pandemic can work
Yeah,
on.
yeah, sure.
The third thing that will become available, so consult this thing, and then there is an ebook because there are a lot of people who have no idea how to navigate their learning journeys. When it talks about, it actually doesn't teach you English at all. It's an ebook. It's an English ebook that makes you build confidence that doesn't teach you English. Okay. So what it does is it tells you which level you are at. So you need to have your level judged. You need to know whether you're talking intermediate and advanced. And then it gives you like at least a starting point of how you can start learning English. Like should you take a class? Should you learn grammar or not? What should you focus on? This is generalized to a large extent. It may give you inputs about 50 to 60%, if not more. Okay, I'm being very pessimistic when I say you'll get 50 to 60% value. each one of us. So what this book does not cover is your personal learning side. Everybody learns languages and learns differently, so it doesn't cover that learning style. Please make a note of that, but it does give you value in terms of how you should learn English. If you're a beginner, how you can jump into the English Ocean. If you're an intermediate, how you can jump into the English Ocean, what you should concentrate on. And if you're an advanced learner, what you should concentrate on. So it'll give you a starting point, and then you can, take the reins. I really believe that learners should the attempt that we are trying to make. Like a lot of people I see, and I think we've had this experience in a. Dipanjan, I'm going to take 5 more minutes.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
So, what my experience has been is that a lot of people expect the teacher to tell them what they should do. It's like a school mentality, okay? And you tell me what I should do, and then I do it, and then if I don't reach a goal, I'm not going to get there. That's one way to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But what also happens is that you don't feel, capable of being able to guide your own English learning journey. And even if you're a beginner, you can guide your own English learning journey because, we're adults and we already know about life. It's about learning a new language. We're not learning about life. So I don't understand this whole concept of learning English as if you're learning about life all over again. Right? So the education system today is also changing, so I can't comment on that. But traditional, teaching actually focused, traditional English teaching actually focused on learning grammar, but it's moving towards, it has moved, and a lot of teachers are adapting that is communicative English now. So communicative English is basically how do you use English to effectively communicate to other people in informal and formal settings. Okay? That's what we are here for. Dipanjan, I'm thinking for the next one, we'll focus on communicative English. What say?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll discuss it next week and see if that makes sense.
Sure.
You can, basically, because that's what I'm feeling. Okay, I could do this separately with Dipanjan, not
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we can do that.
The community, because I think you guys are part of this entire process. Okay, that's why I want to have this. Like, this is usually an offline chat with Dipanjan. Dipanjan is like seeing stars like, why is Trishna doing this today? Right? So, I'm doing this community because you guys are a part of this process. Okay, and today I'm speaking out loud because if you guys, I mean, there are 10 of you here. We will put the video on, but for me, I would love to, if I don't hear from you guys, we'll go ahead with whatever we think. But if you guys can participate in your own learning process, and then that also becomes a lot more enriching for you, then you can take more from what we have to give. Okay? So this whole entire experience for me, the last 10 sessions has been really trying to think, like I've been trying to grapple with what is that touch point that we can give. And I think more than building success stories, it's about how you can communicate better using English to something that Apna Community will take away. What do you guys think? Like whoever is online still, how many people are there?
Around 7 people.
Is anybody chatting? All right, no, okay. All right, so let's wrap up.
Sure.
We'll post a video. I think what we can do is we can post this video. I'll post this video and then we'll ask for feedback after people watch it.
Sure, sounds good. Okay, so I'll move towards the conclusion bit, just quickly dropping a couple of reminders about the feedback form. So if people who are still on the call, do share your feedback. If you have any thoughts that you want to share based on the conversation that we right now had, and also if you have any suggestions for our next phase, please share that through the form. You can also check out previous sessions. If you're coming in for the first time, it's on our website. We will be uploading this session also there. So you'll be able to, check those sessions out. You can also follow Trishna on our Apna community. You'll find more content there. You'll find link to her social pages, and the new offerings that will be introduced will also be available there. So make sure that you do join the community, follow Trishna's community, and see what all updates we have for you. I'm pretty sure this will be an exciting journey for everyone, and we really look forward to seeing you all in the next session as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night. Yeah, thank you.
I'll touch base with you next week sometime.
Yeah, sure. We can connect. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye.